matter what you're doing out there, whether you're selling cookies with the Girl Scouts or you're selling real estate or buying real estate, it all starts with that initial hard work and skills.
Welcome to the Freedom Point Real Estate Podcast, where we talk about creating more time freedom through passive real estate investing. Passive investing in real estate challenges conventional investment wisdom. We are passionate about learning and sharing resources with others who are ready to transform their investing mindset. Quick disclaimer as always, I am not a CPA, I am not an attorney or a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, not telling you or anyone else what to do. The views and opinions expressed in these podcasts are provided for education and informational purposes only and are not necessarily the views of my employer, ADP. I'm glad you're here. Now let's dig in. All right, welcome back, Freedom Point Podcast guests. Thank you again for joining another episode of the Freedom Point. So glad you're here with us today. Really appreciate those that have been dialing in a couple times a week and listening to our podcast, staying current. Thanks again for those that have given us a rating and review. We really appreciate your support in that regard as well. I have another amazing guest with me today. Today I have Zachary Beach. Zachary, welcome to the show.
I'm excited to be here, Jeremy. I know we got to spend some time offline, so I'm really excited to spend some time with your audience and really dive deep today. And I appreciate everyone tuning in.
That's great. That's great. Well, you've got quite a remarkable story. I'm really looking forward to kind of unpacking a little bit more, about yourself and obviously some of the ways in which you can provide, our listening audience with some value. One unique thing about Zachary is he got started with zero real estate experience, like many of those listening today. Really started with nothing and kind of grown in their knowledge base and experience. He quickly ascended to the position of CEO and partner of Smart Real Estate Coach. He's also a 3-time Amazon bestselling author, and he's also a co-host of the Global Rank Top 0.5% show. Am I saying that right?
No, it's Smart Real Estate Coach, Smart Real Estate Coach podcast.
Got it. Okay, great. Well, really appreciate again you being here with us today. Why don't you maybe unpack a little bit more about kind of back in the day where you decided that you wanted to get into real estate? What were some of those early decisions, that you had to make? Maybe what were some, trials, tribulations, failures? Maybe kind of help us paint that picture.
I know you told me we were going to do 30 minutes, but I mean, this question alone, I'm sure we could go off between you and I for the next 3 days. So really at the beginning of my real estate journey, if I even took a step back even further, look, I was a poor kid growing up in a rich town. I had a single mother. So a lot of the things that we all kind of take for granted nowadays, being able to jump on a podcast, listen to how you can get financially wealthy through real estate or whatever other passive or active strategies you use, that wasn't really available, especially somebody that was coming kind of from my background. The only people I knew that were successful in any way were people that were successful in really like the traditional management or executives that are in these, rather large companies surrounding Massachusetts. So I didn't really have that path. But what I ended up discovering was as I, went off to college just because, my teachers told me I couldn't. I was like, as you can see, I always had a chip on my shoulder. And then eventually I became a bartender, personal trainer. Hey, I was even selling, I was even doing network marketing as well. I was just trying to figure out a way to get to financial freedom. And all I knew was just work harder. So then eventually what happened was I met up with my father-in-law one day and I said, hey, I don't know if I'm going to like real estate investing, but I know that you just came out of the 2008 crash and you're revamping your business. What if I kind of started doing some real estate deals with you? And at that time, like I said, he was revamping his business. So I stepped in and started from the ground up, meaning I was handed a list of people who tried to sell their house on the market at one point in time and was said, give these people a call, use this script, and see what you can generate for leads. And that's where it all started. And then it took me roughly 2 to 3 months to eventually make the leap. I started in December of 2014. I made the leap in April. And right around that time was when I got my first real estate deal. That particular deal was a subject to deal. So I know we'll dive into the different techniques in which we utilize, but it took me 6 months to get my first deal. And then everything kind of, that was the first original step before I went ahead and, made the leap.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say here, Zach, is there, was this set of transferable skills maybe that you had from some of the kind of early experiences, and you were able to kind of transfer some of those lessons learned, some of those skills, into the real estate space. What I also heard you talk about is this concept of financial freedom, financial independence. And what I heard you say is that it's a work hard, invest hard, type of a strategy to, really invest your way, to financial freedom or financial independence. But that starts with the work hard, mentality first. And so tell me more about that kind of then transition into, being a real estate agent. Am I saying that right? Like you became an agent, and then where have we come now?
Sure. Actually, real estate investor. I've never hold my license. My family has. My father-in-law, who's my partner, was a broker owner for many years, and my brother-in-law, who also was a agent for 8. I didn't have to go that path. I was one of those people that, there is that natural path selection, or most people believe is a natural path, where it's like you go become an agent or you become a wholesaler, and then from there you can become an investor. I was naive, and I just was handed this vehicle that I hit the ground running with, which was don't use banks, don't personally sign on personally on debt, and don't put down large down payments. That was like the structure of creative financing for us. So I had to really navigate from having zero real estate experience to then navigating a world where it's all done on terms, which is it's a really amazing vehicle to utilize, because sky's the limit, because you're not hindered by those normal scaling challenges. But really, yes. I mean, I think that the beginning of all of this comes from working hard. I just read the book CEO, Dyer of a CEO by Scott, I think it's Bartlett. If you haven't read that book, amazing book. But he talks about really these 5 steps that makes you really a master at anything, right? First is you gotta get the knowledge. So I was lucky enough to really have the knowledge and the skill set right at the beginning, where I had some people that were training me. So I got the knowledge. Then I just worked on my skills every single day at this particular business model. Then I eventually started to be able to get, I started to be able to add value. So now I was able to add value to not only my group, but now I'm supposed to add value to both buyers and sellers out there that were unable to sell traditionally. And then from there, I started to be able to develop the network, which is really what we've done here at Smart Real Estate Coach too, is really develop a network of investors all across the country, which now is amazing, because now if somebody comes to me and they say, I have a deal in Washington, I say, great, I got a person in Washington. Got a deal in Florida, great, I got a person in Florida. So now we're able to make a large impact. And certainly some of the audience members that end up doing deals like this, we can certainly help you with that. And then after that, then you have all the resources you need, right? Once you're able to really put that network together, now you get the resources. So now deals come across our desk, and we can really, whether it's us or our community members, really be able to nail that down. But it really all starts with the hard work, because you got to put in the time and the effort, no matter what you're doing out there, whether you're selling cookies with the Girl Scouts, or you're selling real estate or buying real estate. It all starts with that initial hard work and skill set.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to put in the reps for sure. It's one thing to, learn it from a keynote speaker, or read it in a book, or listen to it in a podcast. The real lesson or the real growth happens, I believe, by doing the thing, right? And kind of learning through some of those, challenges, mistakes, and maybe some failures. So let's talk a little bit about that. You didn't go from 0 to 100 miles an hour in this space without learning some lessons along the way. What were some of those challenges maybe that you faced early on?
Yeah, I love when this question gets brought up, because most people won't tell you all the challenges, all the things you went wrong. We actually spend a lot of time with our community members talking about how to avoid the things that we have spent hundreds upon millions of dollars in mistakes. So, actually, my first deal, I always like to bring this up, because just imagine this: I'm making a transition from a safety net, while though it be bartending and personal training. I knew that world for 4 years. I'm 24 years old. I'm trying to make my way. I then joined my in-laws, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, in a real estate venture. It takes me 6 months to get my first deal. I get my first deal. It's like I mentioned, it's a subject to deal. After we buy the property, and we tend to sell a lot of our properties through rent to own, which makes it very passive, because I'm not managing the property. I don't have to worry about anybody calling me in the middle of the night in order to really handle those challenges. But at the same time, we place a tenant buyer on the property. We end up finding out later on, even though we did our due diligence, that the property was not de-leaded. Now, I'm up here in Massachusetts, so there's a lot of properties that are built in a very old, and there are certain properties that they had lead paint in. This particular property was in a town, but it also was within like this county, so it was like a segment of the town. It was Holden and Jefferson. Now, one of them stated that there was no knowledge of lead. The other one stated that there was lead there. We, of course, checked the county records or the town records that said there was no knowledge. And unfortunately, the seller, who was in a challenging situation at the time, was not offering up that information. He just wanted to get out. So after we placed these buyers in the property, we soon find out that the lady ended up testing, because you can get self-test kits. There had to be in lead, $30,000 lead job. So as you can imagine, so I'm like, I got my first deal. We're doing the family proud. Everything's going well. And then all of a sudden I find out that it just cost the family $30,000. It just cost our company $30,000. So that in itself, now that deal ended up being profitable later on because we held on to it enough. We ended up making, I think, around 6 figures on that deal. But navigating that, not only mindset challenge when it comes to, hey, I found some success. Now I just got kicked back on the ground. And then I got to figure out how to navigate that. But then on top of that, we learned a heck of a lot of lessons learned. And now our agreements include that anything that has to do with basically lead is passed back to the seller if we end up finding it out. So now we included that in our agreement. So just a lot of challenges that popped up there. But in the end, as long as you take those challenges in stride and then add it as a learning lesson, then it makes your other deals better. Because I can tell you now, we have never got caught with a lead challenge on one of our properties.
Right. Yeah. Good lessons learned there for sure. So I know that you've played a significant role in transforming W-2 employees into creative financing real estate investors. Okay. So this is your softball question. Can you explain what creative financing means in the context of real estate and why it's advantageous?
Yeah. No, I love creative financing. It's absolutely changed my life because I was a person that had no resources, like meaning money or people or knowledge or network when I first got involved in real estate. So the only way I could actually get involved in real estate is if I had these skills and this knowledge to be able to put into play. Because now at any point in time, I can go out there if I have zero money, like if I lost everything, I could go out there and buy real estate deals because really what creative financing means is there's a couple rules. Number one is you don't put down large down payments. So especially in comparison to traditional real estate. Then next is you don't personally sign and guarantee debt. So you buy these properties on terms. And then third is we don't go to the banks. So what that really means is that number one, you can scale your company as many deals as you'd like to do, right? Because there's certain hindrances when you're buying traditionally. You have to either number one be able to raise a lot of money, so you got to have a network if you want to buy a bunch of real estate. Two is, or if you're using your personal finances, not only are you risking your own money and lots of it in one deal, but you're also going to need to have a certain amount of down payment every single time you want to go buy a property, which is another thing. And then third is my father-in-law, as I mentioned, got crushed in 2008. So what's the number one rule that he wanted to avoid? And that was personally signing and guaranteeing debt.
No.
Because if the market crashed again, like he did in 2008, he would have had they all called him because he had good credit at the time. So now, out of all the deals we've ever done, and it's approaching well over 500 plus. I think we're actually approaching more 1,000. But being conservative, none of them have we ever personally guaranteed debt. So if you go look up at any of the properties, you're never going to see that we have any ownership or that we are the ones that are guaranteeing that debt. So that's a huge opportunity right now, especially in a risk-averse market, especially when we're in a market where we don't know where it's going to go. It's been up and down for the past 3 years. Nobody knows what the heck's happening. I can sleep at night because I'm not worried about any of that when it comes to that. So huge opportunity there as well. But also, if you're currently buying real estate, because we work with brand new real estate investors and seasoned real estate investors, if you're currently doing real estate deals, this is really the key to unlocking to do more deals. Because there's many out there probably listen to this. Either number one is they're finding their deals on the open market, or they're doing mailings, or they might have virtual assistants doing cold calling. Wherever they're finding, or accessing a local network, wherever they're doing deals, if the deal doesn't fit into their traditional box, they're throwing it away, meaning like it doesn't match the numbers. I work with a lot of investors that also do multifamilies too, not only singles but multis. And if it doesn't fit in like this parameter with this amount of this purchase price based on this interest rate, then they just throw the deal away. Instead, what I'm saying here today is that you can actually now offer additional options, which allows you to actually maneuver with that. And imagine if you can pull one extra deal out of your current pipeline. It goes a long way
Right.
when it comes to that. Uh, but when I get back to the transformation, this is really like close to me because I had to go through many transformations, and each and every one of us do, especially if we want to reach the next layer of of our finances or financial freedom. So that goes for if you're currently working a W-2 job and you want to do some real estate deals and do it supplementally, or you eventually want to leave your W-2 job and you want to become a full-time investor. There's a lot of transformation that needs to happen consistently because we always fall to the level of our knowledge or our paradigms or our mindset when it comes to finances. So you can make a ton of money, but if you didn't work internally on yourself, you're going to lose it all. I've seen it happen too many times. So this transformational process happens really in three segments. We call it our genius model. And that's first is the mindset. We got to really work on the mindset, paradigms, behaviors, challenges. We got to work on getting rid of those or replacing those with better habits. And then once we get that mindset really nailed down, then we're going to focus on the skill sets, which become buying real estate, selling real estate, managing your portfolio, so we can structure better deals over the course of a long period of time. And then, of course, put your systems in place because. As you and I were speaking offline, you say, "Hey, majority of the people just want to do more real estate deals. They love your W-2 job." Well, do you want to know how you do more real estate deals? Is you set up the right systems in place, and then you just manage a couple either virtual assistants or put somebody in place to manage that portfolio, and you just oversee them. Now you can really scale and grow a real estate portfolio with a lot less time than you probably spend on your W-2. And as long as we have the systems in place, we can go ahead and scale that.
It's great. Sounds to me like for those that are looking to get into actively managing real estate, they need a smart real estate coach.
Fair enough. Yeah, especially doing creative financing deals. Yeah, we've been specializing in this for 10 plus years now. As actually a team, we got 75 years of experience between my partners and our coaches, because our coaches are all been from the ground up. Actually, majority of them, this is exactly what they did. They had W-2 jobs. They started doing real estate deals on the side. And then eventually, whether they loved their job or not, they knew that there was way too much of an opportunity cost to keep working their W-2 job.
Yeah.
And what's the funniest thing, and I always thought this was the funniest thing, which was the number one challenge I would say most people face when they transferred over was they were worried about their insurance.
Yeah. Right.
They're worried about their insurance. I said to them, there's no way that you can't make an extra $1,000, $2,000 a month in real estate to cover your insurance. And it's also an expense in your business.
Right.
So it's just the little things that we got to transition from being a W-2 mindset to entrepreneur mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's interesting. So I know that a big part of probably, your playbook consists of, interacting with potential investors, right? Because if you're coaching somebody, on the process to go through to, create financing in a creative way, a big part of that means is that you need to bring some equity, to the table because the bank's not going to finance 100%, right? So what would be like one or two different suggestions that you'd make to that investor that is looking to acquire single or small multi in terms of getting to their potential network and encouraging them to partner with them on that deal?
Yeah, good question. Let me bring some clarity to that answer as well, and that is, so we're not going to banks. So honestly, we're gonna do a couple different things, and let me cover this. So first, one of the strategy we use is owner financing, and I think this will clear it up for your audience. Owner financing or seller financing. That means I go to a seller, and I go to the seller and I said, instead of me going to a bank, you're going to be my bank. You're going to hold the mortgage. I'm going to make payments to you, which allows you and the seller to create the terms of the agreement. So in this particular circumstance, it doesn't mean that you have to come up with a down payment. There's many deals we do with no money down. It also means that you actually get to control the interest rate. Many of the deals we do, it's actually 0% interest rate or principal only payments. So you certainly, as you grow and scale, you may need to partner with people to get equity for these deals. But in actually most circumstances, especially if you're utilizing our terms, then you actually don't have to ever go to a bank. And a lot of the times you don't have to put down payment. So we can really get you into deals with little to no money down. There's also another strategy we use is subject to deals. So there's many deals out there where there's already a loan on the property, but the seller's trying to get out of it. So I gave you that example. The first deal I did was a subject to deal. So what I did was I approached the seller. The seller had little equity in the property, if any. And I said, all right, Mr. Seller, you're going to have to come out of pocket in order to sell this house. He said, yes, that's exactly right. So I said, okay, what if I just let you walk away? I'll actually handle the closing costs. You move on. So that'd be amazing. So what I did was we closed on it and we kept the loan on the property. That's still attached to the seller's credit. And I'm just making payments to that particular bank on behalf of the seller. This is why it's huge opportunity right now because I believe it's roughly 4/5 of the mortgages out there are at a 4% or lower, which means that if you're utilizing subject to deals, you can actually go buy real estate with very low interest rates and be able to step into those deals so that we can create better cash flow. I'm actually working on a deal right now, Southern Connecticut, Norwich, Connecticut is what the area is called. I'm buying the property subject to the existing loan. It has a 2.75% interest rate. So between just those two strategies, and we have two other ones, between just those two strategies, I can show you how to go buy real estate with little to no money down, 0% to 4% interest rates, which is a massive opportunity for those investors out there. So honestly, some deals you may need partners, but a majority of the deals, especially when you get started, you don't even need them.
Right. That's interesting. I've never heard of a subject to, deals before. I got to imagine that this is something that there's an opportunity all over the country, for these types of, structured, deals. Is the time that we're in right now with the kind of real estate market, kind of waning a little bit with some headwinds? Is this time symbolic to maybe the time that occurred back in 2008, 2009? Were these types of subject to deals, available back then, et cetera?
Yeah, good question. Now, luckily and not luckily, I wasn't in 2008. Was I 18? Yeah, I graduated high school in 2008. But I have the experience because the knowledge has been passed down for me because my father-in-law was literally in the middle of 25 projects, 25 or 23 condo conversions, and they went down to a third in value. So he had to dig himself out completely. Now, with that, the network of people that I ask questions around, they don't expect it to be like a 2008. That was very much, a stack of cards of people. Mortgages being built upon people with zero credit or very low credit. But what we are seeing right now is a huge opportunity when it comes to buying real estate because of everything that's happening right now. High interest rates, especially in comparison for the last 24 months, which means that the buyer pool out there is significantly lower. And honestly, you're seeing a lot of hedge funds, according to a lot of articles like Redfin, hedge fund purchases are actually down right now too because they're not catching it really low and selling it really high, which then is another opportunity for you. So you have two of the buyers are kind of stepping aside right now. So who else is going to be able to help these sellers move on? It's us. It's the creative financing real estate investors because we have the opportunity to actually step into these deals and get sellers something, if not even pay their price, as long as I have time to go ahead and exit out of these deals. Because one of the major things that benefit to us as creative financing is when I buy that subject to deal, I don't have a timeline. I can hold on to it for as long as we need to, because typically a zero equity deal or a low equity deal needs two things. It needs the market to appreciate. And as we both know, Jeremy, if I hold on to it for 8 years, the market's going to appreciate at some point. Like even if we're in a down cycle right now, we can hold on to it long enough for it to be worth more than we bought it for. And then, of course, we need the principal pay down to pay down over time as well to create that gap in equity. So because we have these techniques, we can actually help out sellers that can't be helped by the traditional market. And then the best thing about this is we also help an entire other segment that is completely underserviced, and that's the people that can't qualify for loans. And right now, it's roughly 80% of the market cannot walk into a bank and get a loan. So we actually exit out of a lot of our deals through a rent to own program, which means that we can manufacture equity because we're going to sell the property at a higher price in the traditional market because the buyers are locking it in. And then it also allows you as the real estate investor to pull equity off the table as well because we're getting large non-refundable deposits, anywhere from 3 to 10%. We're creating cash flow. We're not managing it. Our buyers are in a position where they're treated like and act like homeowners. So if you want passive income, that's as passive as you could get because you're not even managing a manager. You're just because we all know we're buying multifamily things like that. We're managing the manager. You're not even managing the manager. You're just working directly with that tenant buyer. And then we're building equity in the deals. When that deal eventually cashes out, we're now getting our last payday. We call those the three pays: cash now, cash monthly, and back end profits. So those two points alone are the reason why you're starting to see a popularity in creative financing. It's because the market needs it. We've been doing it for over 10 years, these exact strategies, but it just became popular recently. Like Wall Street Journal's brought it up, Realtor.com, Forbes, Yahoo Finance. They're all bringing it up right now because there's this huge gap in the market right now. So if you're listening to this and you're really trying to get ahead of a curve or know that you're about to ride a wave, this is just my personal opinion, but I mean, this is the wave. I mean, you can capture a ton of deals, and so much that right now we're doubling down. Like our family company is doubling down on our real estate deals, not just our coaching, but our real estate deals, because we know that the next 3 to 5 years can generate a decade, 2 decades worth of wealth.
Yeah, I think there's a real opportunity, on the near term horizon here for people that are just now, getting into real estate investing. So most of my investors that listen to this podcast are passive in nature, involved in maybe a real estate syndication, et cetera. But I know oftentimes people would like to get into actively managing a real estate, portfolio. They see that there's some semi-passive gains there. They may learn the underwriting process and kind of, look for different opportunities in their local market. But the one thing that I know scares a lot of busy professionals,
Sure.
people that are grinding it out every day to maximize their W-2s, the thing that scares them is the asset management side, right?
Sure.
So managing, tenants, managing trash and toilets and termites, et cetera. So
Yep.
do you have any particular strategies for those types of investors? I know one part of it's mindset. The other part of it is, all right, here's, what you would recommend, to
Yep.
somebody that's nervous about the asset management side of owning single family or small multi.
Yeah, no, fantastic question. Because look, we're in 80 plus markets, and most of our community member, if not like 90 something percent, have either little experience, especially doing their own deals. It could be, they're investing passively. And also they work a W 2 job or they own another company. So this was all built around being able to manage this in say like 5 to 10 hours, especially if you're just trying to create supplemental income, right? Which is who you're basically describing. It's not that they're going to go out there and drastically overcome their salary on a day-to-day basis by doing it in 5 to 10 hours, but they can start to build a business that will stack upon itself over the next 3 to 5 to 10 years, decades worth of income. Now, with that being said, that is one of the reasons why we exit on rent to own, because we do not want to manage tenants. This is how in depth that goes. So we have an entire front end process that we show you guys how to be able to vet and then place buyers in the properties. Buyers. I mean, these are people that have 3 to 10% down up front, and if not up front, over time. So they have a large non-refundable deposit that's up for stake if they don't qualify and eventually get their own loan. They're also act like and treated like homeowners. So we don't get tenants, toilets, and trash. Nobody's calling us in the middle of the night because we're placing buyers in the house, and they're going to treat the house as if they are the homeowner already. They just don't have a mortgage yet. So this is exactly how you can be way more passive, and this is how you can do as many deals as you'd like because you don't have to manage those assets. Now, the entire structure is set up too for these buyers to be successful. So as you continue to stack deals upon themselves and receive the paydays on those deals, eventually those deals are going to cash out. So then as you have your nurtured funnel and you're networking with people, you'll get these deals and they'll cash out in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years, and then you bring another deal on and so on. And that's why it's just really being able to know what your end goal is and how much cash you want, you can really be able to structure this long term and really create really a nest egg that eventually you can live off of if you continue to work the system.
That makes sense. Now, I know you're a Amazon best-selling author. You've authored, I believe, 3 books. One in particular is called Real Estate on Your Terms. What would you say within that book resonates the most with your audience?
Yeah, that was the first book that we put out. My father-in-law originally put it out, and then we all threw in some chapters as the book was just revised, I think in 2022 or 2021, coming out of COVID. So you have all of our stories in there too. So if you're like, hey, I'm just trying to figure out like if these guys, this family is relatable to me, because trust me, I know there's plenty of people out there, and we always know you're going to get the best results if you're in alignment with our core values. Same with us. Our entire community, we have a very specific core values. So we go through that. Then we really outline our system, our trademark 3 payday system, the way we buy, the way we sell. That's important because I know that there's other people out there training on, quote unquote, coaching on creative financing. So it's important that you see how we differentiate that just in general, because I sit in rooms with Ron LeGrand and Pace Morby, and we're all part of the same groups of people. It's a small world, and we all do things slightly different, which is pretty amazing to think like it's creative financing. So go through that, and that way you can see exactly how we structure our system and process as it's been proven for the past 10 years. So then you can really put it into place, because I know a busy W-2, someone that's busy W-2, they don't want to go out there and test stuff. They want to know what's proven so that way I can start implementing it and then start seeing results. So that's exactly what the book goes through. So that's a great first step for anyone that's like, hey, Zach said some things that piqued my curiosity. How do I go do one of these deals, or how do I go build a business around this? That'd be a great place to start. And Jeremy, if you don't mind, can I give away that book to everyone that's listening to this?
Give it away, Oprah.
Yeah, and you just look underneath your seat. If you're driving, walking, running, looking in the woods, there's a book. So go to wickedsmartbooks.com/freedom2. That's wickedsmartbooks.com/freedom2. And we'll go ahead and ship you out that book along with some other amazing things. So you can actually get the hardcover. If you're anything like me, I'm still old school. I still like to read the book versus the iPad. That's better for your eyes. So go ahead and order that. We'll make sure it gets shipped out to you.
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll definitely put that link in the show notes as well. Zach, what would be maybe 1 or 2 other ways that our listening audience can learn more about you and get connected?
Yeah, over the past 4 years, we put out YouTube videos every single week, and specifically we call them Deal Structure Sundays. So every single Sunday we put out a video. I think it's over 400 of them now. Where we either walk through our deals, lessons learned, where how the numbers came out, where we found it, you name it, soup to nuts, or we interview one of our community members on one of the deals that we did with them recently. So I would encourage you to go to our YouTube channel. You can just go to smartrealestatecoach.com/YouTube. That's a great place to start to get acquainted with us as well. And then, of course, you can find us on social media, Instagram @smartrealestatecoach.
Great. Well, like I said before, we'll include that in the episode show notes. Zach, I've really appreciated you being a part of our show today.
Yeah, I appreciate having me on. We'll have to do some more things here in the near future.
Yeah, sounds good. And listening audience, thank you again for joining another episode of The Freedom Point. We look forward to having you join us on the next episode.
Thank you for hanging out with us today and for listening to the Freedom Point podcast, powered by Starting Point Capital. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Nothing said on this show should be considered financial advice. Before making any financial decision, please consult with a professional. This show is copyrighted by the Freedom Point podcast. Written permissions must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting. If you're interested in connecting, you can find contact information at startingpointcapital.com.